The following live stream may include adult language and themes. How could we know for sure? Hasn't happened yet. Anyway, viewer discretion is advised. Hello, everyone. Welcome in, adventurers. Welcome to Level Up with Grimstone Gaming. I'm Margaret Alice, and tonight I'm just going to let you introduce yourself. Who are ya?
Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Dove, and I am the founder of Dungeons Not Dating, the one-of-a-kind mobile app that lets you swipe for your party.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for being with us, Rachel. We're so happy to have you. Start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got into D&D and why you love TTRPGs.
Thank you so much. I'd love to. So, I have kind of a different story, I'm assuming, than most folks for how I got into Dungeons and Dragons. It was actually a very, very happy accident. I had an ex who put something on our calendar that just said dinner and drinks with Victor and Alex. It was another couple we'd hang out with, and I looked at D&D, or I'm sorry, I think I said it wrong. She put D&D with Victor and Alex, and I thought dinner and drinks.
Yes.
Yeah, D&D is dinner and drinks, and then I showed up to be questioned about, you know, what I was going to play as, and what wizard, and what class, and just all sorts of things, and I was not
Wow.
turned into a 3-year campaign. Met one of my closest friends through that campaign as well. I did play a wizard for my first ever campaign, which definitely put me in over my head, but I just absolutely loved it, and then started seeking out more and more opportunities to play in more and more ways, different ways, moved virtual with the pandemic and everything else. So I love the socialization of it. I love the the escapism, but really I love kind of the power and control that you have over the world that you're playing in. So just a very, very unique and cool experience that I want to help more people get involved in.
That is amazing. I loved, even though, obviously the pandemic was a really tough time for the entire world, I love how the D&D and TTRPG communities just expanded by going virtual. By, force of necessity, we became further reaching than we ever were before, which is so cool to me. Well, I'm very glad that had a happy ending, because I'm not sure how I would have felt about being thrown in the deep end with no warning of like, we're doing this.
No, it ended up being honestly such a great thing, and yeah, even with the pandemic, it actually afforded me an opportunity to reconnect with friends I didn't normally talk to. I was in a couple of different virtual campaigns with folks who were literally spread across the entire nation. I had friends I'm in Colorado, but I had friends in Florida and Virginia and New York and Minnesota and New Mexico, and we were all getting together and playing in a couple different campaigns, and that was very cool to reconnect in that way.
So, if you had all of these party people around you, what made you come up with Dungeons Not Dating?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I saw a need for other people. So every time that I would mention, hey, I started playing D&D and it's really cool, I would get about 5 different people who would say, oh man, I want to play. Can I play with you? I was already in 3 campaigns. So my knee-jerk reaction is to say, of course, absolutely. But in reality, I was working a full-time job. I'm in a relationship. I've got a cat to take care of. She's very needy. I didn't have time to just exclusively play D&D with all of these various groups of folks I knew. And then I saw the issue when it came to inclusivity. There was a time that I was fortunate to join a game online, and this was back in the day when you would see a game post on Roll20 and about 1,000 people would apply. Yeah. And of course, there's not 1,000 seats at the table, but I got really lucky. Right? Yeah. And so I joined a game, and it was the worst experience of my life. I was in this group with folks who immediately were like, yeah, we wanted a girl in our party so that you could help, seduce the things. But otherwise, you just sit back, you just relax. And then when they found out that I am a lesbian with a female partner, things just got worse. And all I could think is, if this was my first experience playing D&D, I would never look back. I would log off and never get back on the game, and I'd miss
Absolutely.
this beautiful community that's out there. So I really wanted to build something that would help other people avoid that, because the more I
Yeah.
learned, the more I saw that wasn't a unique experience. And there are other groups who need that more. I mean, historically, this game has not been all too kind to people of color.
So
And
true.
I would love to say that that is changing in major ways, and it is changing, but not enough and not fast enough. So I wanted a space where anyone, regardless of the color of your skin, how you identify, who you love, even things like neurodivergence, where
Mm-hmm.
anyone can excel, anyone can be accepted. You can put those tags on your profile, and you can be sure that the only people swiping on you are people who at the very least are going to respect your existence as a human. So that was the biggest
So
driving
important.
factor.
So important. Uh,
Yes.
so
What's
that
that look?
that concept for me, what attracted me to it when I came across your app, and I was immediately like, let me reach out, uh, is for the same reasons. We're so invested. Our mantra, our tagline, our saying, if you will, our motto is never stop playing. And the reason we say that is because play is not only fun, it is important to our very well-being, the very core of us. And that psychological aspect, and the fact that you can get, like, as we mentioned during the pandemic, it became a really big thing because it provided that socialization, and it also provides a safe space in which to experience the full range of human emotions, right? It's basically therapy if you do it right. And we think it's like it's so important to have those aspects and to make it your table a safe space. So I
Yep.
really love that about your app. And just in case it needs to be said, looking at you, internet, Grimstone Gaming is a safe space for everyone. We are like 75% queer. We have a resident straight guy.
Perfect. You need one of those. Allies count too.
Exactly. They sure do. And we love and respect all brains and the way that they work. So, if you are finding that experience, not only should you use this app and find some better people, but you're welcome to join our community as well. So how has this development process been for you? Do you have a background in app development?
No, ma'am. I am I always joke I'm the brokest broker. I'm a registered stockbroker, and I was working in corporate America for, I don't even know, lost track, 7 or 8 years, before I actually left my full-time job to pursue this. So, coming from the finance world, I do not have any kind of tech background whatsoever. So it was definitely a big change. I started off kind of slow, teaching myself Figma and using Upwork to hire people to kind of help me with those designs, and then mostly just sort of tweaking it myself and trying to come up with things like that. I'm also not an artist, so I quickly had to go on to Etsy and other platforms to find an artist to create some, um, just like standard character portraits, similar to what you'd find on
Sure.
like D&D Beyond. So kind of hiring out help for that, working through the design process on my own. And then once I felt ready for the next step, I moved into hiring a development team. So it was kind of funny. I got a lot of people, just kind of saying, "Hey, don't do any of that. Just go on to ChatGPT and say, 'Hey, ChatGPT, write me a code for an app.'" And I was like, that doesn't sound reasonable. So I did hire a company to help me get started, and then ended up kind of switching gears, moving to a different company for my actual minimum viable product. So I'm in the last week kind of doing QA with that company, finishing out the just that first beta version of the app. And if I'm being honest, I ask them every day, kind of, yeah, what's the front end looking like? And they're just kind of like, okay, Rachel, we know you don't know what you're talking about. Like, we'll explain it better. So it's been a journey, but I've met some really great people along the way, made a lot of good connections, and yeah, it's been great working with those teams that I can have full confidence in, because I also thought about doing things like coding camps, but I just would not be able to learn fast enough and at the caliber that I'm looking for this app. So yeah, just went with the development team to get it out as soon as possible, and the highest quality as possible.
I there's no judgment for that here. We like a good product, right? If you can, I always say go to the experts. um Ooh, lost my train of thought. Speaking of neurospicy brains.
Sorry.
Oh, why are you apologizing?
I love that term though, neurospicy. That's a great
favorite.
term.
So how exactly, oh, I remember what I was going to say, just that by having not having that knowledge gives you sort of a base level of QA right off the beginning, because they have to be able to explain it to you and make sure that it makes sense to the average consumer. So a bonus,
Yeah.
in fact. So how does the app work?
Yeah, so great question. A lot of seem to be I'm not sure, maybe I named it wrong, but with the name Dungeons Not Dating, a lot of people seem to still be viewing it as a dating app. It is not, though. So the way that it works is when you log in, you will build a personal profile that's literally you, right? I would sign in as Rachel Dove, a 35-year-old, and I would put my personal tags, right? So for me, I would put I'm LGBTQ, and some hobby tags, things like that. When I'm free, what my virtual play platform is, the things that are just going to be standard to me always. Then I'm going to build either my character or my DM profile, or both. I actually do both. I run campaigns and I love to play in them. So I could build both. But those I'm going to put the game specifics. So when I build out my character, I'm going to put in my species, my class, my alignment. I have a free text box where I can type in a little bit of a backstory. And then I'm going to put my gameplay preferences, because I might not want to play the same way with every character, right? I might have a super chaotic rule of fun rogue I want to play with, but I also might have a really serious cleric that I want to play with. So I've got those different tags and kind of what kind of game I'm looking for, whether I want it to be family friendly or if I'm welcome to mature themes, things like that. So I'll put all that in, and then when other users are on the app, it's going to be my character, my DM profile first. So if you were swiping through, you're not going to see Rachel Dove, you're going to see my character. So you're going to see that chaotic rogue and get to decide, do I want a rogue in my party? Yes, no. You can read my backstory, you can read those tags, whatever else. And then, similar to a dating app, if we make a mutual connection, you swipe on me, I swipe on you, that's going to open up that chat. The difference there, though, is that the chat is going to be available for group chat. So now either one of us can add other people into that group chat.
Cool.
To basically build that entire party out and then go off and search for our DM after that. So it really puts the power back into the hands of the players a little bit more, because the players get to swipe on each other and decide, hey, we want to play together, and now we're going to find a DM as a party, rather than like applying, and a DM just kind of picks whoever they want to have on their team. So gives a little more autonomy to the players, and just hopefully helps build those connections. We do have an algorithm in the background that's going to manage a few of those aspects for us right to start off, and then that algorithm's going to get tweaked along the way when we find out, what's most important to people. And in later iterations, we'll have like search filters too. So if you're trying to put together an entirely neurodivergent crew, you could have a search filter to do that. But to start,
Right.
it's going to be just kind of swiping through just until we build up that user base and we can justify having more of those filters in there.
Cool. So, can you have more than one character profile active at a time?
You can, yeah. So in the first version, again, we got to start somewhere. So the beta version, you're only going to be able to have one character and one DM profile. You don't have to make both. If you're only a character, only build that. But or vice versa.
Mhm.
But in later iterations, we're gonna keep it to 3 character profiles, and one DM profile on our free tier, because free is my favorite 4-letter word.
Yeah.
And I feel like 3 is a good number for most folks, so it's not overwhelming. But if you are someone who's like a career DM or something, there is going to be a subscription option to opt into that allows you to charge for games and build out multiple DM profiles, and put out however many games you want to run, however many sessions a week. And we're still kind of working out the details as far as characters, and that's really going to go based on need. Speaking of which, I told you my cat is very needy. She can never
Yes. Hi,
have
baby.
me. Yeah, she's got to be involved. So, but basically, we're gonna listen to our users as far as how many character profiles seem, necessary
Sure.
or important to folks, and kind of adjust as we go.
So, I'm imagining that you don't necessarily need to flesh out all of your mechanics and stats and levels and all of that. Just basically, this is the species I'm going to play, this is the class I'm going to play, and here's a little backstory about my character. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So when you do actually go sit down at your virtual table, that's when you'll need to, have your character sheet ready to go. Or if you're playing a beginner friendly game, at that session 0, create your character sheet. But for the app, it's just going to be those main components. And again, the backstory is a total
It's
free for all.
optional.
Yeah, you can type in as little or as much as you want. If your backstory is, I don't know yet, Hermione Granger's cool though, sure. I don't know. You can put as little or as much as you want in there. If you want to write a novel, go ahead. But yeah, just to make sure that it's accessible for our new folks, so that way no one's feeling overwhelmed that they've got to figure out what the heck number goes in the strength box today when they
Yeah.
maybe have never played before. So
I love that, especially with the backstory. I come from a theater background. I'd always done a lot of improv. I'm a dancer, but like it's still to me with the collaborative nature of TTRPGs, sometimes it's hard for me to really get a feel for my characters until I start playing them. My
yeah.
best friend, on the other hand, is usually like, here is my
Yeah.
whole life story up until this point. And that's wonderful. I wish that I could do that, but I that's not always how I function. And so I really appreciate that, because I did feel some pressure at the beginning when I first started D&D to like have all of those details and to know everything about my character before we even started rolling dice. And I really appreciate that we're expanding the idea that no, that's not necessary. You can have just the base. I like to hit things, and that's it.
Yep.
Like until I figure out more.
Yep, exactly. And then it gives you more freedom at the table too. Sometimes I played with one DM who they were phenomenal. They came from a language and rhetoric background. And what they loved to do in their campaign was to help, like you mentioned, this is therapy. It's basically play therapy. And they loved to help get your character from the starting point to some major arc, major development. So they would write in a specific arc for each character.
Yeah.
And I had a silly little orphan rogue and my little rogue spoke like a newsie. His name was Theo. He was the most fun character to play in the whole world. He did drag. It was great. But my home life as a queer person, I was actually disowned by my family, and it was
I'm so
something that
sorry.
I was able to reconcile at a point, but it was something where I don't think I truly understood the impact it had. But by playing my little orphaned
Hmm.
rogue, my DM, they saw that, they picked up on that, and they're like, we're gonna give you a reconnection story. Yeah, you don't have parents, but you have people that care about you, and you're gonna find them in my world, and you're gonna reconnect. And they did that with every single character, and that was nothing that I came up with. I didn't sit there and say, hey, you know what? I think I need this to heal. That was my DM,
Yeah,
and it was a very magical moment, and each one of us at the table got our own moment like that, and it made for a lot of freedom in the game. If you've got a DM you're close to and you can do that with, you know, I want to give people the space to do that. Or if you are a player who needs control of your backstory, that's fine too. We're not putting a character limit on it. You write till your heart is content. Give us a novel, you know?
that is incredible. I love that access, and I'm so glad for you that you found a new family. We're all your family now.
I have the most amazing chosen family, so no no complaints on my end.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. I love hearing that. So, what has been the impact so far? What's the feedback from the people that have been testing the app?
So far, we have had minor little glitches to the just that initial beta version. I have not actually put it out yet for my beta testers, but I do have quite a few people signed up. There is still time, so if you or anyone
Ooh.
else wants, my website's easy to find, just dungeonsnotdating.com. And there's a little email subscribe button, so anyone on that list is going to get the link for the beta test.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. So far though, we've been kind of delaying because certain elements weren't where
Yeah.
I wanted them to be. But they will be soon. So we're gonna get that out soon. But overall though, the response from the community, the reaction from the community has just been overwhelmingly positive, even without seeing the app yet. My comments are flooded with wow, 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 I need this. You know, why isn't this out yet? When can we get it here for other places outside of the US? And don't worry, if you're outside of the US, it's coming, but it'll take me a minute. So but yeah, it's been pretty overwhelming, and I already see just so many other uses for this. So many people are saying, well, what about in-person games? What about other tabletop
Hmm.
RPGs? And again, all of that is coming, but I've got to start somewhere. So as I get this out to folks, I'm going to make sure that we've got some solid direct feedback links. So again, just because of the collaborative nature of the game, this isn't my app. This is for the community. So really, what the community tells me they want, that's what I'm going to be prioritizing. That's what I'm going to be putting back out there. So starting small, because that's how it has to happen. But
One step at a time.
any yeah, exactly. And we're gonna get that going as far as other tabletops, as far as in-person games, as far as international expansions and different language translations. All of that is down the road. And in fact, even a therapy portal is in the works for. That's going to be the hardest one, but that is in the works because a lot of
Wow.
licensed therapists and psychologists
Mm-hmm.
want to run these games, want to help people, but they're facing so many barriers because they can't just say, hey, you know what, my clients Jim, John, and Tommy all are
Mm-hmm.
suffering PTSD as veterans. I'm just going to tell them each that they all have PTSD and we're going to run it. Nope, you've just HIPAA violated everybody.
Sure.
So it's been really difficult. But if I can figure out the legalese of that and put that as a portal on my app where people can self-proclaim, hey, I've got PTSD as a vet, or I have whatever other thing, social anxiety I'm struggling with, and they can get matched with a verified and licensed therapist and hooked up with a game specifically to help them through that, that would be huge for the community. That'd
Yeah, it would.
be huge for the providers. So that's also in the works.
That is incredible. Wow. Yeah, that's I work in healthcare myself. So yeah, thinking through the laws of that is going to be tricky. I know that telehealth is still catching up, and I think that that would probably factor in as well. Crossing state lines can be difficult. But, you know, uh, any if,
Working
oh,
for
what a
insurance, if it
dream.
right, yeah, because that's the other thing, right? If I can figure all of that out and make it so you can just input your insurance info, make sure the provider matches. I
Mhm.
mean, it could be huge, but yeah, that's gonna be a heavy lift down the road. So
I love that
don't
you're
hold your
taking that on though. That is incredible to know that somebody is thinking in that way at least.
breath. Yeah, yeah,
So cool.
that's been huge for me. I really want to make that happen. So it's yeah, definitely in the works.
That's wonderful. So it sounds like you've already gotten so many good like immediately people are on like, "Oh, I can use this for this and that and this and that." How will people be giving feedback as far as beta use?
Yeah, so everyone who's signed up on the site right now for the actual early adopters and doing the beta testing, they're gonna get a special invite link. I think I mentioned earlier, I just started a Discord literally like 24 hours ago or something. So I don't think that anyone's really in there yet except for like a bot and me. But but I do have a private page there that anyone doing the beta testing is going to be invited to for feedback.
Okay.
And then I do have a little surprise in the app as well because the app does have a chat feature and I'm going to be a user. So I've got a little something in the works for that as well so that the feedback can go directly through the app directly to me. But again, that's just going to be for those beta users. And then once
Sure.
it's actually in circulation, launched on the App Store and Google Play, everything like that, it'll be a little different. It'll be more through like the
Sure.
report feature and then the general tech support Discord, which would be more on like the bug side. But obviously, if people have feedback there too, I'm gonna listen to all of it, everything I can.
So what kind of timeline are you looking at the moment? I know you said soon, but do you have anything more specific?
So my developers have told me that the early access or that the app should be done on Friday. Um, so yes, exciting. But I know how this development stuff goes.
Yeah.
So even once they've got Android phone I'm testing it on and an Apple phone I'm testing it on. So
Mm.
even once they hand it over to me completely, I'm still going to take about an extra week just to make sure that it's up to par. So I'm hoping I can send out the email with instructions, the beta test link all next week on Friday. And then basically use that feedback that I get from my beta testers to really just nail down everything in the app and hopefully I'll be able to launch it as like a Christmas gift for the community or something like that, you know. It'll
Lovely.
take another couple months, but hopefully.
If you're not catching this live, that is next Friday, September 20th, for
Yes,
your
yes.
reference. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. I just always I hope people are going to be watching it even after we're done going live. It's going to stay up on the YouTube. So oh,
Perfect.
that I'm struggling to even come up with more things to say. You're so thorough and the idea is so solid. I'm very impressed and I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like. Is there what else can you tell us about it? What do I not know to ask?
Ooh, that is a good question. So what else can I say? Okay, here's a big thing that I feel like I need to say. So we are all used to very, very, very beautiful, smooth apps with no bugs. So I just want to remind everyone again, I am a novice. I have never even thought about developing an app before. In fact, I'm basically a boomer and I have trouble even using apps. Like my Discord, I had to watch like 18 YouTube video tutorials on. So this beta version that comes out, uh, I'd like to think that it's going to be pretty and smooth and beautiful, but really, again, I'm an amateur here, so please give me your feedback, but please be kind. And please know
Mm-hmm.
that this is a work in progress. So, what I will be putting out next Friday is by no means complete or done, or we're not putting a period at the end of it. It is literally a beta, a minimum viable product. So once that gets out into the hands of all of you wonderful people in the community, I'm still going to be hard at work grinding away to just make it better and better and better and expand on the features that are in it. So there's a couple of features that we didn't quite get right in development, but I didn't want to hold off any longer. I wanted to make sure to get it out there and then kind of go back into that code and
Sure.
and just fine tune it. So that's one thing I do feel like I need to say. And then the other thing is I am still looking for other artists. So if we've got any artists in the audience here that would like to
Sure.
do any kind of character portraits, I am still looking. I think I have 26, but it only includes 9 of the species right now. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so you'll be able to. It's like D&D Beyond, where you can choose from the ones that I have, or you can just upload your
Upload
own
your own.
art.
Cool.
Yeah, so I assume most people probably want to upload their own, but I am going to be looking for, just trying to fill out at least 1 or 2 options for some of those other species. And then the kind of the last thing that I'll mention is along the same lines of looking for artists. Another big thing I want to do as soon as possible is integrate an artist marketplace, just so that all of our artists have a more direct funnel of our D&D players, because I know I can't be alone searching on Etsy for D&D specific things and getting 1,000 other things in the way of my searches before I find the actual dice roll tower I
Sure.
want, or the person to do my party portrait, or whatever
Yeah.
else. So I definitely want to get that into play. So if any of my artists out there have any kind of um, asks or ideas on that front, how to make that a better process, or what you'd like to see there, I am all ears to that as well. Because again, I'm not an artist. I don't know how to do
Sure.
it.
Artists'
I keep
profiles
looking.
might not be a bad idea in addition to character or DM, especially on a commission base for character portrait purposes. Like, this is my art style, da da da, that you can cross reference searches.
That's a good point. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Well, thank you. See, already got an idea. Look at that.
You're welcome.
Good catch. But
Happy to
yeah, I like
contribute. I do have Michael in the chat, our resident GM and artist who does everything, and I'm like, don't you want to draw some
that.
things? So are you looking for any specific art style when you're talking about like default character portraits?
Not necessarily. The only art style that I'm staying away from, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense, is the kind of the more anime art
Mm-hmm.
style. But really anything else, honestly, I kind of would like to get a little bit of a variety in there. So I'm really open to whatever. Again, it's really just to make it more accessible
Yeah.
for newer folks. If you're entering the hobby, you probably don't have, you're not a crazy person yet like me. I've got a folder on my computer with, I don't even know, like 900 different character options. But if you're not crazy yet, you wouldn't have.
You will be.
So
Don't worry.
yeah, that comes later. That comes like a quarter of the way through the first campaign. But yeah, but I want this app to be something that someone brand new can, look at their friend's Converse D&D edition and say, I want to try and play that, and pick up the app and just create a character. 5 seconds, start swiping through and get matched with a beginner friendly game. So that's the real reason for having those just kind of standard portraits
Sure,
available for folks.
absolutely. Michael is a big fan of saying use the tools that take up fewer spoons. Like don't do more work than you have to when you're trying to do something that you love. Otherwise it's gonna bog you down. So if you're having trouble getting started, it's so important to have those options and those resources available to you. So I love that. What species in particular are you missing? Just asking for him.
So I actually started I did just the yeah, I don't even remember now if it's 9 or 10, but the ones that came strictly from the player's
The
handbook.
original edition of the player's handbook. Okay.
Yeah. So just those original, I believe I believe they only had 9, and then I threw in Tabaxi just because, I have, my cat is the co-founder, so I
Yeah,
couldn't not have Tabaxi.
obviously.
So,
So you have a portrait of her, I'm assuming.
that would actually be the best way to do it. I should get her made into, yeah, because my character on the app is a Tabaxi rogue, so I really should have that be my cat.
Our first Once Upon a One Shot, I did a Tabaxi Road. I named her Lynx, I think. I don't remember.
I like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
love it. I
Love
love
it.
rogues. I love rogues. Ironically, it just ended up being the game that sticks. You never really know, right? You never know. Our long form campaign, I ended up playing a ranger. I never thought that I would be like a long term ranger, but I
Yeah.
rogues are really good for me for picking up like short characters, for one shot characters. I'm always like, oh, I can do a rogue, no problem.
Yeah. They are pretty easy grab and go characters for sure.
They
I
can
am one.
be.
That's true. That's true. If you're not min maxing and stuff like that, they can be. I like doing like the sillier characters if I'm playing longer campaigns. So I do like the charisma rogue with a wild card, which is optional, but that's just my favorite, and kind of playing a disarming. I did a halfling rogue, so I pretended I was younger than I was, and I'd like mimic the behaviors of the big bads and try to like disarm them and take insults as compliments. One of the big bads was like, "I don't care if you know this, you're insignificant." I was like, "Oh, you didn't gotta say that, but you did. Thank you."
I played a halfling rogue early in my D&D days, and I have a the axolotl. So this is another thing I was going to ask you about, being able to input homebrew stuff. Was one of the races that multiple people have done them, but one that we have in particular, a a sheet that Michael developed for them is the axolotl folk. And somewhere
Ooh.
along the way, they became a little bit more like normal medium size, closer to humans. But when I first developed my bard rogue, Arista, they were very small. So she's like 3 feet. She's like 3 feet tall, and she's just this little axolotl girl who is a College of Eloquence bard, mastermind rogue. I don't remember, but she just like goes around, just kind of. I'm known for some reason for doing charismatic characters who are only charismatic because they are so uncharismatic. If that makes sense. They find all of my questions charming. She's very inquisitive. Oh, maybe she's inquisitive. Anyway, she's
Yeah.
very inquisitive. She's a librarian. She likes books. She likes words. She likes languages. And she would just run around just doing. Nobody would expect they would. In the party I used to play her in, it was pretty famous for several scenes of being like, "Where did Arista go? Nobody
Just gone.
noticed. I just left. It's fine."
I love that. That's so fun.
Yeah, I love her. So,
Oh.
homebrew options. I imagine that wouldn't be difficult to make available.
Yeah, so that is something that's not in the beta version yet, but basically, in the beta version, I don't even have an option for subclass, again, just for accessibility's sake.
Mm.
But I definitely want to, basically, as I build it out, I'm gonna have basically a free text box so that you can select other and then have an optional subclass as well. Because again, if you're starting at level 1 or you're a beginner, you might not know what the heck these
Sure.
subclasses are.
Right.
So I make that mandatory at any point. But then by having just like the other fill-in text box, that would allow folks to, literally put in anything they want, use your imagination. And then some of those other text boxes are going to be for me to just kind of harvest information for what I need to do next. If I've got a lot of folks saying, hey, we want another tabletop RPG, my first step is going to be to throw in a survey to my existing users. What other tabletops would you like to see here? And then for all new users, have an optional other category of what other tabletops do you want to see? And then I'll be able to just kind of rank those and say, hey, you know what? The biggest one I'm seeing right now is Warhammer. That's my next one, or whatever it ends up being. I don't know what it'll be, but but basically I'll be able to harvest that information and go from there. So yeah, I'm definitely planning on using a couple of different just free fill text box to let people do custom homebrew anything they want, and then also just to help guide the app to its next destinations.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, then on your DM profile, you just add in, like, these are all the games that I run, or I'm open to homebrew content, or not open to homebrew content.
Yep.
Very
Exactly.
cool. Very
So
cool.
really customize it as we go, but yeah, it'll all be based on the users, because I don't want to throw something in there. The last thing that I want to do is put out an app that's so specific that someone jumps on it, does all this work and thinking to build their profile, and then they swipe through two other people and go, well, that was boring, and delete it because
Yeah,
they're looking for an in-person game only for neurodivergent people in the middle of Kansas, and they only want to play Magic the Gather, and now you've got no one to choose from because I did it wrong, and I don't have the user base to support what you want yet. So kind of casting that wide net, hoping to get as many people signed up, and then cater to what the masses are asking for.
that's such a good plan. I don't think a lot of times as consumers, we don't think about that aspect of it of like, why wouldn't they choose to do this? Well, that's one of the reasons. There might not be a user base to support that. And
Yeah.
you're not going to throw, extra work in there that's going to complicate things if that's not something that people can use. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Keep in mind, people, be patient. Wait for all of those updates. Just be glad for what you got for now.
Exactly. And also, that is why I am asking people for their zip codes. So when you sign up, part of building your personal profile, even though it's going to ask you zip code, virtual play platform, and those don't seem to match. They don't match at all. I just need zip codes so that at the end of the day, at the end of the month or the week or year, however long it takes, I can look at those zip codes and I can say, wow, we've got a ton of people in the Chicago area. We're going to roll out in person for Chicago. And then I can send all
Yeah,
of those users a blitz and say, hey, you know what? Congratulations, Chicago. You guys are getting in person gaming. All you've got to do is this extra security step to verify your profile. And now you get to play in person. And then I get to look at those zip codes again and say, you know what? Miami's ready too. And I get to roll it out. So,
that's cool.
wherever those spaces are, that's what we're doing. But be warned, you will have to verify your profile. We're not messing around with Craigslist killer situation. We need some verification before we send you to meet people in person. So
Yeah, it
uh,
could be a liability issue.
exactly. I can't prevent everything, but I'm definitely
Do
going to
our
try to put
best.
up some security parameters on those. So
Perfect. Love it. Um,
yeah.
will it have any kind of once the party has been connected, will it have any like scheduling sort of like organizational component to keep your campaign running after you connect?
That is actually something I want to integrate before launch. So it won't be in the beta version, but basically I want to put in like just a calendar, a scheduler
Yeah,
within. So when you build your profile, you are gonna say when you're available, but it's gonna be like loose availability. You're not gonna
sure.
be able to say like, oh, I'm available at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday nights. It's gonna be more like weekdays, weekends, early mornings, evenings, like just a general what's best for you. So first thing is going to be to kind of tighten that up a little bit, give people a little
Yeah,
bit more wiggle room on the scheduling side, just to say that's their preference. And then using that in the algorithm so that basically if you're only available on weekends, you don't really need to see people who are only available weekdays. So they shouldn't even pop
true.
up for you. But then I do want to integrate that into the chat itself so that that way it's not this back and forth of like, you said weekends, I meant Sunday, you meant Saturday. Like, I want to integrate it into the chat so it's easier to just kind of click. These are like the 3 times that work best for me. Everyone can kind of click the same thing and then it'll sort of build that out for you and say, hey, this is when you all have the most availability to play. Because, a party is going to be 4 or 5 people. So if,
Yeah.
or more, I think I have it built right now so you can have up to 8 people in a party. But we'll get feedback on that, I'm sure. I might have to adjust it down because 8's a lot, especially for most DMs. If you've got a new DM, don't do that to a new DM,
Yeah.
everyone listening now.
Will
but something like that.
will DMs be able to like cap their table specifically?
Yes, yeah. So that's the other big component of it. Once you build your party out, you'll have a party ready toggle. So you'll say, me, you, and 3 other people decide we definitely want to play together. We'll click that party ready toggle. That's going to throw us into the DM match. So now we all get to swipe on DMs. DMs get to swipe on us as a group, as a unit. So
Ah.
DMs can say, hey, you know what? I'm a new DM. I'm only looking for parties of 3. Y'all have 5. I'm probably not even going to see you. Or they say, I don't care. I'll take anything. 3 to 8 players. Bring it on. And then they'll see every party that gets formed. But yeah, so I do have some things like that. Also, I do have a search function. So people asked about that early on, and I should probably mention that. So if, you mentioned you're married, if you and your husband are like, we want to find a party together, you
Mm.
can just search your husband auto match. You don't have to hope you find him or filter through to get to get
I would
to him
hope
or
we would match, but
yeah. Nope, you can just search it, find him, auto match, add him to whatever group chat you decide to be a part of, and turn that toggle on. So you will have that opportunity as well. Same for DMs. If you already know your DM, you'll be able to just search that specific DM, add them to your party, and go from there.
very
So
cool.
yeah.
Amazing. Well, I am super excited about all of your ideas. I love where this is headed. I can't wait to see. We're down to about our last 10 minutes of the show. Is there anything else we haven't covered that you want our folks at home to know?
Oh, not necessarily. Just, if you're already in a campaign, keep playing. It's awesome. Um, if you're in one campaign, that's pretty cool. I was in 3, so still use the app. No, I'm just kidding. but um, but no, really, I think the biggest thing is I just want to help new folks get involved. So if
Yeah.
you're out there and you're interested in D&D and you watched the movie and you watch Critical Role and you watch Dungeon Daddies and our friend here, if you watch these, that is awesome. Keep watching, keep supporting all of our cool content creators, but also the real magic happens when you're the
At
hero
the
and the
table.
storyteller. So
Yeah,
well,
absolutely. That is
yeah.
exactly why we started our Once Upon a One Shot series, because it was designed to be very, very open. Anyone can play, anyone can submit a game to run, any system. You can do it. If you want to do it, get out here and do it. There are resources. You can do it. Come play with us.
And this community is just so beautiful and
Mhm.
welcoming and collaborative. When I first started playing, I was like, man, I don't know. It would be my turn, and I would like sit there flipping through my handbook, like, I don't know what to do. And everyone at every table will sit there and be like, oh, let me show you. So these are your choice. We're in
Mhm.
combat right now. Here's your options. You have an action, you've got movement, you've got a reaction. Let's see what your character can do. Everyone helps each other, everyone builds each other up. You're a party. It's not PvP, it's not player versus player, it's not player versus the DM. It's such a unique experience. So if you're not already involved, like get in there, have some fun of your own, start meeting people in the community. You won't regret it.
Start collaboratively storytelling. It's the
Yep.
greatest.
It really is.
Well, you want to close out with reminding us all where we can find you all over social media and whatnot?
Oh yeah, this is my weak suit too. I very new to social media, but I do have a TikTok channel, Dungeons Not Dating. If you are interested in being one of our beta testers, you can find the link to subscribe right on my website, dungeonsnotdating.com.
And I will add
Uh,
that link to the description of this video after we end the live.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm also on Instagram. Wait, yeah, Instagram at Dungeons Not Dating, and I do have a Facebook page too. If anyone out there is as old as me, so I do have that one, and that one's D Not D. So
That's
same.
why I couldn't find you. I tried.
Yeah,
We're still on Facebook too. But I'll need to go back and add that tag.
yeah.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for being here and for telling us all about your app, Dungeons Not Dating. Thank you, everyone who's watching live. Thanks so much for being here. If you want to support the channel, we do have a Patreon. That's patreon.com/Grimstone Gaming Group. We do throw up some extra goodies there from time to time, such as our stars and wishes. Speaking of keeping our tables safe spaces, we like to give each other gold stars after each session, talk about what we loved about how we play together. And so you can find all of those on our Patreon, as well as an episode guide for Tabletop Turntable in case you're behind. This Tuesday, the 17th, that's the day. Tuesday the 17th, we'll be back at 7 p.m. Eastern for the very last episode of Tabletop Turntable Track 1, where we spent 2 episodes playing The Quiet Year and have now been playing D&D 5th edition in the world that we built. But never fear, Track 2 starts on October 1st, and we will have a new GM with a new set of players playing Delta Green. So very much looking forward to that. Thanks so much again, Rachel. It was so nice chatting with you. I'm so glad we got to have you on. Never stop playing, y'all.
Thanks for having me. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.